Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses. Since this is the Subcommittee of Judiciary on the Constitution, I just wanted to take a couple minutes to take stock of our constitutional order today. The President and his allies are attacking the pillars of our civil society, including the courts, universities, and the free press, trampling on the Constitution and the rule of law through executive orders, threatening the very foundations of our democratic republic and the rights and freedoms of our people. In an unconstitutional power grab, the administration, aided and enabled by Mr. Musk, is dismantling federal agencies and freezing federal funding for critical services. They're indiscriminately firing hardworking public servants, jeopardizing not only their livelihoods, but the health, safety, and well-being of the American people whom they serve. Seniors are scared that Elon Musk's Doge is coming for their Social Security and Medicare, too. This administration is branding all immigrants as criminals, and it's embarked on a lawless campaign of terror, including wrongfully arresting U.S. citizens and deporting innocent people with legal status. Doctors are terrified that this administration's funding cuts and anti-vaccine rhetoric will worsen the highly contagious measles outbreak that's already killed 2 children, the first measles deaths in this country in more than a decade. And to top it off, the President launched an irresponsible and costly tariff war, bringing chaos and volatility to markets across the globe, and handcuffing working families and American businesses to his sinking economy. Congress has a constitutional duty to act as a check and balance on an out-of-control executive, to fight for the people we represent and stand up to the madness coming from the White House. But so far, our Republican colleagues don't seem up to the job. Instead, they're wasting the time and resources of the Constitution Subcommittee to give a platform to right-wing extremists seeking to sow more chaos and division in order to distract Americans from Republicans' utter failure to engage with the most pressing issues facing our country. So let's start by getting a few facts straight. The subject of today's hearing, Dr. Eitan Haim, was not criminally charged for his political views. Instead, he was indicted by a grand jury for stealing the personal medical records of children and giving them to a right-wing activist. These were criminal violations of HIPAA, or the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. According to the indictment, Dr. Haim obtained unauthorized, individually identifiable health information of pediatric patients who were receiving gender-affirming care at Texas Children's Hospital and who were not his patients. At the time Dr. Haim accessed the records, gender-affirming care was legal under Texas law, and he knew that. Dr. Haim also knew that the children were not his patients, and therefore he had no legal right to access their medical records. Even if Dr. Haim believed his allegation, however erroneously, that this care amounted to child abuse, he didn't follow any of the official procedures to report that concern to supervisors, as he'd been trained to do. Instead, he shared the stolen records not with child welfare authorities, but with a conservative activist, Christopher Rufo. He knew that the law was designed to protect patient privacy, and he chose to break it. This is an open and shut case, and that's why the grand jury determined that there was enough evidence to charge him with criminal HIPAA violations. So it wasn't the Department of Justice that politicized Dr. Haim's case when it charged him with a blatant violation of HIPAA privacy laws. It was Dr. Haim himself who came up with a political excuse for his illegal actions. And it was the Trump administration that dropped the charges against an ideological ally in a way that serves its own political agenda. That should give us all pause. The Department of Justice's creed has always been to operate free from fear or favor, in other words, independent of political bias. But we're already seeing that's not true under the Trump administration. Earlier this week, we heard testimony from a DOJ attorney who was fired because she refused to recommend that the gun rights of one of the president's celebrity buddies be restored because of deep concerns about his history of domestic violence. Over the weekend, we heard of a DOJ lawyer who was placed on leave when he refused to manufacture law or facts to support the government's case, which would be a violation of ethics and the rule of law. And among other egregious examples these past few months, the DOJ dismissed this case and others despite clear and grotesque invasions of patient privacy because the White House wants to attack gender-affirming care.